It is too soon to arrive at any definitive conclusions about the long-term impact of the crisis in Ukraine on the European security order or the broader international security order. And that's because the crisis is not over. It's a work in progress. We don't know what Mr. Putin's future intentions are, and we don't know what unintended events could occur on the ground. But I think it's safe to say that what has transpired in Ukraine over the last several months constitutes the most serious threat to European security since the end of the Cold War, and opens the door to the possibility that we will see the return of great power rivalry to Europe, and potentially the return to geopolitical division in Europe in a way that is reminiscent of the pre-1989 world. My best guess is that we will not get there, that the Russians do not have an intention to press this crisis forward. They do not have an intention to fully invade Ukraine or take other steps that would cause the U.S. and its European partners to begin to contemplate a serious remilitarization of the security order in Europe. That having been said, Russia has already violated sacrosanct norms. It has used force to grab the territory of a neighboring country and to annex it, and that threatens a rules-based order that rests upon rules of sovereignty, territorial integrity, and no change of borders through the unilateral use of force. It's because the rules have been broken and because a dangerous precedent has been set that Washington has taken the lead in confronting the Russians with sanctions in cooperation and coordination with the European Union. And Mr. Obama, Mrs. Merkel, and other leaders of the Western Alliance have made clear that there could be further sanctions forthcoming if the Russians continue to behave aggressively in Ukraine. As I said, we may have witnessed the worst of the crisis. It appears as we speak that the Kremlin appears to be backing off a bit, saying that it is going to take some troops back from the border, that is against a referendum in southern and eastern Ukraine. That's good news. It may mean that we see a de-escalation in the near future. And in that respect, I think my biggest concern is not so much that we have a direct and intended confrontation between Russia on the one hand, the US and the EU on the other, but rather that events on the ground could spin out of control. That extremists on one side and extremists on the other could engage in a firefight, could engage in reckless behavior, which then pulls in the other parties. And there, I think, it's something we need to be very careful of and avoid the spirals of hostility that sometimes occur from unintended events. So again, this is a discussion that takes place in the middle of the Ukraine crisis. We don't know where it's headed. I don't think that when we look back at the spring of 2014, historians will say that this is a moment in which the trajectory of Europe fundamentally changed. My guess is that we will see this as a very serious crisis, but one that did not in the end change the course of European history. But a few months now, it may be that that judgment appeared premature.